I also want them to be acutely aware of what be careful means, because if they're in the care of someone else, or even if we're out with friends and another parent notices someone's body in a bit of precarious position before me and yells out, "Be careful!" I want my child to know what those simple words mean and know that they need to take check with their body and see if they're taking an appropriate risk, if they feel safe in the risk they're taking. Hey there, and welcome back to Demystifying Child's Play, the podcast where we dive into the fascinating world of play schemas and how understanding them can totally change the way we parent. I'm Ruth Furco, and today's episode is one I've been itching to talk about, my take on why I fully support risky play, but I still tell my children to be careful. Yep, I said it. I know be careful is a bit of a taboo phrase in modern parenting circles, but I think there's a lot more nuance here, and I totally understand where the advice is coming from. And yes, I'm a big believer in letting kids explore and take healthy risks, but I do also tell my children to be careful. So today I'm going to unpack what I really mean when I say it and how it fits into understanding your child's play, the play schemas they might be working through, and how we can support our kids to take risks safely without squashing their confidence. Why? Because being careful isn't the same as being afraid, so let's unpack that. Then along the way, I'm going to give you some tools to support your child's adventurous spirit through the lens of play schemas and help you feel good about when and how to say be careful in a way that supports, not stifles, your child's confidence. So let's get comfortable. Whether you're out on a walk, catching a rare moment of quiet, or multitasking around the house, let's dive in and explore what being careful means. So, what are play schemas anyway? Before we dive into risky play and the whole be careful thing, let's take a moment to revisit play schemas. Play schemas are those repeated patterns of behaviour that you might see in your child's play, like throwing things, spinning in circles, climbing everything in sight, or stuffing toys into bags. These aren't random. They're actually how children explore the world and build their brains. There are 10 of the most common ones, things like trajectory, rotation, orientation, enclosure. If play schemes are new to you, head over to my website and nab the free cheat sheet, which gives you the 101 of these top 10. So head to playschemas.com/free. That's play, schemas.com/free. When you can identify these schemas, suddenly your toddler's chaotic behaviour seems to make perfect sense. And what's even better, it gives you the tools to support their play and keep them safe without hovering over or controlling everything. Okay. Risky play. Risky play is that kind of play that allows children to test their limits and develop confidence. Things like climbing trees, balancing on logs, jumping off the last step, standing right on the edge of the play fort, as I've had at home, and zooming down hills on a trike. It's essential for developing physical coordination, decision-making, resilience, and knowing where their risk levels lie. When children engage in risky play, they learn those boundaries. They become better at risk assessment, and they grow. And if you need more convincing that risky play is good for kids, it helps them develop physical strength, confidence, spatial awareness, and judgment. There are so many base level things these kids are learning here that they provide such a wonderful foundation for as they're older. If they don't know how to take risks when they're young, what will they be doing when they're older? Either being real safe or experimenting then. And I would much rather them experimenting when they're under my own roof. Now, even the term risky play is relatively new. Previously, it was just play, and I'm a massive advocate for it. But my twist is many play advocates talk about not telling kids to be careful, and I still tell my kids to be careful. For many of us, especially if you grew up being told, "Stop, you'll get hurt, don't do that," letting your toddler climb that rock or leap off that log can feel scary. And that's why I still use be careful. Not to shut down their play, but to draw attention to their body and their environment and their awareness. Because the goal is not to avoid risk. The goal is to help our children learn how to manage it. Okay, so let's reframe this idea of being careful through the lens of play schemas. So to recap, when I say be careful, I'm not trying to instill fear. Instead, I'm guiding them to be aware, to tune into their environment. I want my kids to take risks, but with their eyes wide open. I also want them to be acutely aware of what be careful means, because if they're in the care of someone else, or even if we're out with friends and another parent notices someone's body in a bit of precarious position before me and yells out, "Be careful!" I want my child to know what those simple words mean and know that they need to take check with their body and see if they're taking an appropriate risk, if they feel safe in the risk they're taking. Okay, let me show you what it looks like in practice through some real life schema examples. So let's start with number 1. As always, trajectory. This is when your child loves throwing, jumping, running, or watching things fly through the air. You might see risky play here when they're leaping off furniture, throwing balls high in the sky, and instead of saying, just be careful, I might follow it by saying, hey, be careful. Have you noticed where your feet will land before you jump? Is there space to land safely? Or you could say, hey, be careful. Have you checked if anyone's in front of you before you throw? This builds body awareness and keeps the risk present, but managed. I'm using be careful, but I'm explaining why. Number 2, orientation. This is when children are exploring the love of being upside down, climbing, hanging, or seeing the world from a different angle. So, something you could say here, they're climbing up a tree. You're saying, oh, be careful. You're climbing really high. Do your hands feel steady? And then they want to hang upside down. Have you looked at where your head will be? Can you find something to hold on to with both hands before going upside down? I can see how careful you're being. So before I go on to the 8 other schemas, please remember these are just guides. Aim to spark what you could say with your child. And as your child grows and matures in their strength, language, and risk acceptance, and as you grow in your acceptance of risky play, how you talk with your child will change too. Okay, let's keep going, but I'm going to speed up a bit. So number 3, transportation schema. Think moving objects from one place to another. For example, hauling rocks across the garden in a bucket. You could say, hey, be careful, that looks heavy. Can you carry it with 2 hands? Number 4, rotation. So think, spinning wheels, turning around in circles. So your example could be spinning in circles until they fall over. You could say, be careful, check how close you are to the table before you spin. You're still using be careful, but you're giving them a reason why. They're learning what they have to do to be careful. Once they learn this and have this repeated again and again, their own brains will be thinking this, but they do need help to start. Okay, number 5, enclosure. So it's making boundaries or getting inside things. For example, crawling into the laundry basket or into a cardboard box. You could say, be careful, can you get in and out without it tipping over? The enveloping schema. So you might think covering yourselves with objects. So this could be covering themselves in blankets until they can't see. You could say, hey, be careful, can you still breathe and see? Let's make a little space here. This one can be really important with the younger and older siblings. It could be the older sibling enveloping the younger one in a blanket. And you know that might not be too safe. Instead of just freaking out saying, take it off them, they can't breathe. You could be saying, hey, be careful. Can they still breathe and see? Let's make a little space in there. Okay? Number 7, the positioning schema. So think linking things up or placing items in order. So for example, climbing to position toys high on a shelf. I've got some shelves behind me. We have it all the time. So the script could be careful. That chair might tip. You might fall off the top of the sofa. Is there a safer way you can reach up there? Number 8, connection. So think of when they're trying to tie things together, linking objects. So for example, they're using string to tie up their toys to the furniture. You could say, hey, are you thinking about how to be careful here? Is someone going to trip on that string? Definitely talking from first-hand experience. Okay, after connection, number 9, disconnection. This is taking things apart, knocking over towers. For example, they could be kicking down their siblings' carefully built block tower. So you could say, hey, be careful. Are they okay with you knocking that down? Do you think their body is in a safe place? Number 10, transformation schema. Think mixing, mashing, changing substances. For example, that'd be mixing mud and water into a slippery mess. I do love slippery messes, but I would still say be careful. Hey, be careful. Is it safe to stand in that muddy patch? It might be, or it might be that there's some big rocks or hazards around when they're trying to move around. So sometimes it's even just talking about what the hazards are. Hey, be careful. Have you noticed that rock there? Let's go slowly next to the rock before you go fast again. Okay, so why does it matter when we pair up our knowledge of play schemas with thoughtful, intentional language? Well, when we do, it does a few things. Number 1, we honour our child's developmental needs. We also reduce frustration because we understand the why behind the behaviour. We strengthen connection because we're working with our child, not against them. And most importantly, we raise confident kids who trust themselves and us. Okay, so if you need some quick tips to identify and support play schemas at home, Number one is always watching for repetition. If your child is always rolling or rapping or climbing or crashing, chances are they're working on the schema. Observe without interrupting. Watch what kind of actions they are repeating. Next is offer schema-aligned play setups. For example, if it's trajectory, make sure you've got a safe jumping zone or something they can easily clear themselves. Right where I'm sitting, we've got an eyelet in our ceiling where we can attach a trapeze where the kids can swing on, and our kids know about safe zones. They know that they need to move the table out of the way, the little coffee table, and that there can't be any toys or books on the floor so when they drop, falling over. And then the one swinging is in charge of making sure no one else walks in their way. I do say, be careful, but when I say be careful, I always follow with be careful. Do you think you'll hit anything? Do you think you'll fall on anything? Have you looked at who else is in the zone? So they're understanding what be careful means. So when someone else comes into the house and they say be careful, their brain is thinking about all those secondary things, not just the what do you mean by be careful? So as I've said, you're using some guiding language. So you're replacing the generic single-use be careful with specific prompts. So making sure you be careful and check how stable that branch is. Have you carefully checked that you've got enough space to swing that? You're using your language as a guide, not as a stop. You're not saying, hey, stop there, you're climbing too high. You're saying, oh, I see you're climbing. What do your feet need to stay safe and be careful? Not just saying, get down in the most panic voice, which actually probably makes them less safe as they have a bit of a panic about why mum's panicking so much. And as you and your child moves along the risky play journey, you can empower them by saying things like, I'm so proud of how you know your body limits and how you are careful with your body. This way, you're supporting the safety and exploration. When we understand play schemas, we stop seeing toddler behaviour as chaos or defiance, and we start seeing it as learning. And that shift, it builds trust and a much more connected relationship. So yes, I will still be saying be careful, but I always say it with intention, not fear. I say it as a cue to help my kids tune into their bodies and surroundings and learn about what needs to go on in their own head. It's not about limiting their freedom. It's about helping them to learn to fly safely. I try to remember to always explain what I mean, and I believe our role is to guide, not control, to teach, not terrify. Risky play is vital, and when you understand play schemas, it all clicks into place. Now, if today's episode has sparked an aha moment about risky play, about saying be careful or anything else, I would love to hear from you. If you want some more tips and tricks and ideas for supporting play schemas, or you just want to see some risky play in action, come and hang over on Instagram at play_schemas. I love receiving DMs, or check out the show notes and more blog content at playschemas.com/blog. And if you want to look for this one, have a look what's there and then search 027 for this episode. And if you know another parent who needs this message today, share the episode with them, because I would love for us all to raise brave, curious kids together. So remember, today is a great day to play in a risky way.